Welcome to Biz Wire. I'm Joseph Nordstrom in Beijing. On Sunday, India and China simultaneously withdrew troops from camps a few meters apart in a Himalayan desert, apparently ending a 3-week standoff on a freezing plateau where the border is disputed and the Asian giants fought a war 50 years ago. An Indian Army official told Reuters that the two sides stood down after reaching an agreement during a meeting between border commanders after the tension threatened to overshadow a planned visit by India's foreign minister to Beijing this Thursday. But it was not immediately clear how far China's People's Liberation Army, or PLA, soldiers had withdrawn. Delhi had claimed they were 12 miles beyond the point it understands to be the border with China, a vaguely defined de facto line called the Line of Actual Control, which neither side agrees on. An officer from the Indian Army's Northern Command, which oversees the disputed region on the fringes of India's Jammu and Kashmir state, said their troops have moved 1 kilometer backwards from the position they've held since April 16th. China moved its forces into the disputed territory on April 15th, setting camps that have been featured prominently in Indian press daily over the past 3 weeks, but received scant attention in official Chinese media. India considers it the worst border incursion in years, while China has continued to deny the incident, saying, though, that trade shouldn't be affected between the two developing powers. China is India's top trade partner, but the unresolved border could disrupt the relationship, and despite slowly warming relations between Asia's largest countries, New Delhi often appears insecure about relations with its more powerful neighbor. Both China and India have claimed the Maryland-sized territory of Aksai Chin near India's northeast border for decades and even fought a brief war over it in 1962. But the issue was mostly calm until about 3 weeks ago. The territorial dispute flamed up once again when a few dozen, some say about 30, Chinese troops marched across the de facto border, backed by helicopters, and set up tents on the India-administered side near a 16th century Silk Road campsite. India's opposition and much of the media has been critical of the government's handling of the standoff, drawing parallels with the 1962 war, which ended in its humiliating defeat. On Friday, India's parliament was adjourned after members shouted, "Get China out, save the country." Some officials and experts believe the incursion is due to Chinese concern about increased Indian military activity in the area, which is only about 30 miles from the Pakistani border. In any case, tensions are likely to persist given India and China's increased presence in an area that for centuries was largely unclaimed and crisscrossed with caravan routes. Now the land abuts the Karakoram Highway joining Pakistan to China, which Beijing hopes to develop further as a trade route linking it to the Arabian Sea port of Gwadar. From the Indian side, hawks in New Delhi have also declared that India is capable of handling two fronts with Pakistan and China at the same time, which leaves some observers worried that India might use this incident to set off a military escalation and that the two most populated countries in the world might end up having a large-scale conflict. The Sino-Indian border issue is part of a bigger game at play. China and India are both big developing countries, each facing internal pressure not to give in to the other side, making resolution difficult. It's worth noting that while China has heated border disputes with a number of countries, Beijing has been more conciliatory about resolving these conflicts than they've been given credit for, as noted recently in the Washington Post. On the other hand, China is more powerful now than it has been in centuries, and there's an interesting, if dangerous, dynamic going on in the country between those who want a more assertive China and those who campaign for the status quo with continued focus on economic development. Well, this is Biz Wire on the Blue Ocean Network. Stay tuned for more in Economic Insight.